Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Low Life Plays, coming at you with another deck tech. This one is for my Legends Dihada Binder of Wills list. Had a lot of fun, been tweaking it for a while. I think it's at a point where I feel like it's very recursive, pretty resilient, and the thing I like about Dihada, and a lot of decks, is just I like any deck that you can have, and then you're always on the lookout when new sets come out for interesting cards that could really just build into this style of play. And this one, all you need is legends, right? You're just looking for legends that have cool effects, so it just opens the book pretty wide for what you could do. But this is what I've been doing, and I think it runs pretty fun. So let's just jump into this. Dihada is one, a red, a white, and a black for a legendary planeswalker, and you can +2 her to give a legendary creature vigilance, lifelink, and indestructible until your next turn, which is just great to just have a blocker out that can just protect Dihada. She protects herself by just upping your legendaries. But really, her -3 is just why she's so powerful, right? You reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put any number of legendary cards from among them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard, make a treasure token for each card you put into your graveyard this way. So good to just get Dihada out there, -3 her, and just bin it all, just bin it all, make 4, get 4 things, use those treasures, or cast one of your creatures out, and then you just have a blocker, Dihada's out, and then next turn you can uptick, and you get so much value from Dihada. And if you ever get to her -11, you do gain control of all non-land permanents until the end of turn, untap them, give them haste. Can definitely be pretty wild, but a lot of what you're doing is just upping her and minusing her. Typically you're just trying to minus her all the time. You just get so much value. So we ramp a lot, we're trying to do that in Mardu. Dihada does it really easy. When you get up to that, you can just have so much mana after turn 4. It's so good. But Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Talismans. We are also running Relic of Legends, which super good. You can just tap legendary creatures, add 1 mana. Can really help us ramp later on. And then I'm also running Kenrith's Royal Funeral. So this is an interesting one. When it enters, you exile 2 target legendary creatures from your graveyard, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the greatest mana value, and then legendary spells cost 1 less if you exiled, or for each card exiled this way. So really important that this is just kind of later on in the game. You cast Dihada, bin 2 creatures, and then just get rid of them. And then this is online. It's super, super nice, and it can also just draw you cards, refill your hand after you've ramped out, got Dihada in play. Just a really good card, and it's legendary, so you don't have to worry about milling it, right? Because when you throw Dihada and you do her -3, you can just put any legendary cards from among them into your hand. Doesn't have to be a creature, nothing like that. It can really help with land drops, so she gives you a lot of value. We're running Boros Charm. We do have a lot of creatures, so giving them indestructible or the double strike is just super nice. I mean, hardly ever are you going to want to just deal 4 damage to target player, but it's an option. It's really in here as a protection spell. Same thing with Deflecting Swat. You'll have some key permanents that you want to protect, and Deflecting Swat is great for that. Gerard, Weatherlight Hero. It's a legendary first striker, and when he dies, exile it, return all creatures, return to the battlefield all artifacts and creatures that were put into your graveyard this turn. So it's great wrath protection. They have to get rid of him before they get rid of your board. So I just like having him in here. Rakdos Charm. I mean, honestly, anytime I'm in black and red, I love having a Rakdos Charm. I mean, just knowing that it's in your deck when you're going up against tokens or anything like that, or a graveyard deck, just having that just silver bullet can really save you. And just, a lot of people just for some reason don't expect a Rakdos Charm. I love this card. It's just so flexible, and it comes in so clutch so many times. Flowering of the White Tree gives legendary creatures, which is all of our creatures, +2/+1, and ward 1, which is just so good. Only costs 2 white. You can get this down so easy. Hero's Podium. I mean, it's Joda on an artifact, right? Each legendary creature gets +1/+1 for each other legendary creature, and then you can pay X, look at the top X cards, and then reveal a legendary creature, put it from your hand. No, you reveal a legendary creature card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom, and it can just be super nice. It's such a huge board buff that you don't have to worry about other people benefiting from. It's just really, really nice for what we need to be doing. We're running Generous Gift. We got to get rid of some permanents like Rest in Peace, stuff that messes with our graveyard. It's just really nice to get rid of those, or other problematic things like lands, could be something. Mythos of Snapdax. I like this. I was playing around with removal for this list, and this one made it because I just like the ability to each player choose an artifact or creature, enchantment, and planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, and then sacrifices the rest. But if you just put black and red into this too, then you choose. So really benefits us a lot, and it can save Dihada. So I really enjoy that. Spiteful Banditry. This one is also one of those cards a lot of people don't expect to play against, and it's come in really nice for me too. It deals X damage to each creature, and then it just passively ramps, right? It can only do 1 treasure a turn, but that's still pretty nice, you know? It's just passive treasure generation as long as something dies. So we're not really trying to benefit off of it too much, but it's just a great Wrath that can be flexible, and then it can also just benefit you. I mean, worst case scenario, it at least generates a treasure on the turn it comes down. And then it's not a huge problem for people. So, I mean, I would love if it drew removal. You know, it's not that big of an investment for us. So that's totally fine. And then we just sometimes got to get rid of everything. You know, let's clear house. Blasphemous Act. Get it out of here. You know, we got to just wrath the board, leave Dihada ready. Plus, it's amazing. And we can give a creature indestructible if we have Dihada out, and then swing clear, gain some life. It's really nice. Ruinous Ultimatum. This can just shut down players. You know, it shuts off the whole engine. It's wild. Destroying all non-land permanents your opponents control. I've had this just send me back to the Stone Age, and I've sent people to the Stone Age with this. And you can get to it very quickly just using Dihada's crazy treasure-making capacity. So very easy to hit Ruinous Ultimatum. We're running some draw. You know, we got Painful Truths because we are 3 colors, so it's nice to be able to just draw 3, lose 3 for 3. Dire Sight, I like the Surveil on this because it can help with Dihada. And then you draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Gonna run Read the Bones, same thing. You get to scry, so draw some cards. And then Brass's Tunnel Grinder. So big reason I'm running it, it's legendary. So it's card draw that I can't mill, but it also just has a lot of upsides to it. You get to discard cards in your hand, so you can get rid of legendaries to reanimate. You get to draw that, whatever you discard +1, so it replaces itself. It's pretty good. And then it does flip, which can be nice, you know, whenever you cast a permanent spell using mana that you got from this, you discover. So it has uses, but really it's in here just as a card draw spell that has a lot of upside for us. And like I said, you know, Dihada mills a lot of our own cards. So we do have a little bit of reanimation in here. We're going to run Reanimate, Necromancy, Living Death. I think these are where we focus, is Mass Reanimator. You know, we do have these as just some flexible cards in the early game. You know, we can mill something with Dihada, get a powerful key piece back. But I'm running Living Death and Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, right? Because you just return all legendary permanents from your graveyard to the battlefield, so it can get rid of all of our, or it can get some of our like problematic enchantments or artifacts back as well. And then we're running a lot of other stuff like Felled into the Third Path. You just make make a copy of target creature in your graveyard, except it's an artifact, and then it gains haste, and then you sacrifice it. But this can be super irritating, just given our board state and given some of the annoying creatures that we run. Just being able to do this all the time, he is a huge problem. Same thing with Alesha, who laughs at fate, right? You can, whenever it attacks, it gets bigger, and then at the beginning of your end step, if you attacked, return target creature card with mana value less than its power from your graveyard just right to play. Has First Strike. You buff it with Dihada, you can really easily get in a lot and start gaining life because it has First Strike, it'll have Indestructible, has Vigilance, so it can just be a great blocker. And this card, when it came out in Foundations, I was like, this is just so good for Dihada. Running Chainer, excellent Reanimator card. You get to discard to cast a creature card from your graveyard, so you can fuel your graveyard even more. And then whenever a non-token enters under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste. So now you're getting these creatures back, they're hasted, so you can get your problems, and they're a problem now, not next turn, they're right now. So I love Chainer. Rotodrobic, this guy is just absolutely wild, right? He does give other zombies Vigilance, which is, you know, fine. Vigilance, Ward 2, so he's really annoying to deal with. And then whenever another legendary creature you control dies, you create a token that's a copy of it, except it's not legendary. And it's a 2/2 black zombie. Just so much ability to just use this and just, you know, they have to remove... I've gotten into situations where they just have to remove so many things so many times. And I just love Rotodrobic. He's super fun. And let's get into our gas, right? What legendaries are we playing and why? So Yoshimaru, easy. Comes down turn 1, you know, and then he just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's just the goodest boy. So that was enough reason to put him in, but he just is such a strong card. Shay Cormac, so flexible. Just being able to remove Hexproof, Indestructible, Protection, Shroud, and Ward until end of turn can just be crazy. For 1 mana, and then whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes the target of a spell or ability you control, you put a bounty on it, and then whenever you kill a bounty creature, put 2+1/+1 counters on Shay. So Shay gets bigger, but really what it's in here for is just a get rid of the things that are stopping me from killing your stuff. Indestructible can be annoying, protection can be annoying. You know, maybe they swing at you and they forget that you can just remove their protection, and then you kill their stuff. Shay has come in handy so many times. I love this guy. Then we're going to be running Zayawa, the Lava Tongue. He's a Death Touching 2/2, so he's really nice because he comes down early. He's a Death Touch blocker, so he really, you know, incentivizes people to swing other ways, not at you. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you descended, each opponent can discard a card. If they don't, you hit him for 3. Just a little bit of value. Lelia, just haste. Whenever it attacks, you exile cards, and then whenever 1 or more cards are put into your exile, it just gets bigger. Just a really nice beater. You know, that's really all it's here for. Just beat stuff. And then you can kind of, you know, you get to play off the top, right? Because you exile a top card, you can still play it, and then it gets bigger. So it's a little bit of card selection. You get to be able to have access to the top card. It can be interesting. Brina, amazing just politics card, right? Whenever a player attacks 1 or more opponent, if they have more life than another one of your opponents, they draw a card, and then Brina gets bigger. So you hit opponents who have more life than you, there you go. You draw cards. You get, you know, Brina gets often just a huge flyer. You're drawing cards. Other people are drawing cards, so you can play politics that way, not get hit. And Unpack All, just nuts. This card is just so strong. Whenever you attack with 1 or more non-gnomes, you make her bigger, and then you make a bunch of gnomes equal to the +1/+1 counters on Anim. So this is a great target for Dihada. You know, if you get this out turn 3 and then you Dihada on 4, you just +2, make this Vigilance indestructible. It's so nice. And then you give it lifelink, so it just can get bigger, no threats. It's a great blocker for Dihada. Just love this card. Breaches, it really helps us ramp, is the biggest reason it's in here. Has First Strike. Whenever a pirate you control attacks, you can make treasure. Target creature can't block. You can, you know, exile the top card of your library and cast it this turn. That's pretty nice. Just has a lot of flexibility. Cruel Claw. Whenever Infamous Cruel Claw deals combat damage to a player, you get to exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land, and then you can just cast it by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. That's just so crazy. This card is nuts. There's so much stuff you can do with Cruel Claw, and it just plays into our strategy so well. I was so happy to see this card come out. Varric, Warped Sengir. So honestly, the biggest reason he's in here is for his keywords, right? He's a flying Death Touch lifelinking blocker. That can just be so helpful to just get Dihada into a safe place. You can uptick him, or you can uptick Dihada on him, make him an indestructible Death Touch flying vigilance creature. But we do also run 3 fetch lands, the pain ones, just so we can have opportunity to double ramp, right? So he does have some payoffs, but really he's in here as just a nice blocking Death Touch lifelinker. Gloin is wild, right? Whenever you cast a historic spell, make a treasure. This happens only once each turn. That's fine. Whenever we play our deck, we make treasure. Sounds good to me. And then you can sack treasures and goad creatures. So it also can help protect Dihada that way. You can minus her with Gloin in play. And then boom, now you have treasures. And you can just tap it, sack a treasure, and then just goad the thing that was going to swing at Dihada. Or just goad something that you're scared is coming at you. This card just is absolutely wild. Krenko, whenever he attacks, he gets bigger. He makes more goblins. Krenko's a menace. I don't think I have to go over Krenko too much. Kembal, Profiteering Mayor. So this card is just, it does too much. It's a 2/4 for 3. And then whenever 1 or more tokens enter under an opponent's control, for each of them, you get one. People are making treasures, cool. People making food, dinos, whatever. Like, you get them too. And that is just such a crazy thing, right? It does only trigger once each turn, so just keep that in mind. If they're just making a bunch of different tokens, you just have to take it. You just have to, but it's free. So, pretty cool. And then whenever 1 or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses life and you gain a life, which is just something that Dihada's making treasures all the time, and then you're just making, this gives you treasures if anyone else makes any sort of token, or not treasures, but gives you a token of whatever they make. Really, really good. Gimli, probably one of the strongest beaters in our deck. You know, it's a double striker for 3. And then whenever a legendary creature ETBs, Gimli gets a +1/+1 counter. And then whenever Gimli deals combat damage to a player, create treasure. So he just ramps us. He's a huge beater. He has double strike. He's crazy. You love to see Gimli in your opening hand. Same thing with Drana. You know, it's just a really powerful first striking flyer that gets bigger whenever it deals combat damage. It's just, I mean, it has to be to a player, but still, that's pretty wild. Adeline, I mean, it's Adeline, right? Like, it's just a strong card. Vigilance comes down the turn before you could cast Dihada without ramp, so it's super, super good, and it just makes your board really, really massive. You can't see it too well in the name. This is Elenda, Saint of Dusk. Lifelink, hexproof from instance, and then as long as your life total is greater than your starting life total, it becomes a 5/5 with menace, and then then Elenda gets an additional +5/+5 if you have 10 or greater than your starting life total. So there's so much lifelink in Dihada, just through her own ability and some of our creatures that we've picked, that you can get there pretty easy. And even if it's just a 6/6 with menace and lifelink and hexproof from instance, it makes it a huge pain to remove this creature. So I love having Elenda in the list. Shanid came in the precon for Dihada. Excellent legendary. Other legendary creatures get menace. Whenever you play a legendary land or cast a legendary spell, draw and lose. It's super good. I mean, super, super solid card. Tashar, Ancestor's Apostle. Flying, which is nice, lets us get in. Whenever you cast a historic spell, you can just return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to play. I mean, there's so many. Like, there's so many in this list that are just 3 or less. And that a lot of our key, powerful beaters are just 3 or less. Look at that. Krenko, Gloin, this guy, that guy. There's so many good ones that Tashar helps us enable and just recur. And it just gives us so much. Shieldred. You know Shieldred. If you don't, you must live a happy life. But Shieldred is an insane card. I happen to have one, so I put it in here. You should punish your opponents for drawing cards. That's what you should do. They want to draw, they're going to have to pay. You know? That's what you get. Carter Doomscourge. Just when it ETBs, you just goad everything. Creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. And then whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain life. This can be a really excellent card to, when you have Dihada, you cast it whenever you do. You know, if you've ramped out or whatever, you've tapped out all your mana typically, you're on 4. So you tap 4, cast Dihada, downtick Dihada, and then get 4 treasures, and then cast Carter. It can protect Dihada and then just cause a bunch of chaos, which I love. It can just be so nice for us. Queen Marchesa. She's a death-touching haste, baby. And then she introduces the Monarch, which is just a super fun mechanic, right? You get to draw cards, it incentivizes people to hit each other, and then if you don't have it, you make 1/1 black assassins with death touch and haste. So most of the time when I introduce Marchesa into the game, I'm just trying to cause chaos, you know? I want to be the Monarch for a little bit, and then give it away and just start making death touchers, and then those things allow me to get it back pretty easy. Odric, probably one of the most powerful cards in our whole list, just because of his crazy ability. At the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike if a creature you control has first strike. And then the same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. So what's really important here is Dihada's uptick, right? Her +2 ability gives them vigilance, lifelink, and indestructibility, which you can just then give to your whole team and just do crazy things. So really, really strong. Kedrick Soulkindler, the legend rule doesn't apply to tokens you control. The main reason that we're running him is just he does really well with himself, right? Because it's a legendary permanent. Enters the battlefield under your control. You can pay 1, make a copy that's a token, and give it haste. But since it's legendary permanent, and you don't have the legend rule anymore, and it's going to die at end of turn anyway, you can get lots of value off of having this in play and casting Dihada. You know, and then copying Dihada, and then downticking both of them. Or downticking and upticking. And then you just get so much crazy value. It's just nuts. Love Kodrick. Arvad the Cursed. Just death touch lifelink, and he is just a buffer. He's, if I were to cut one, he might be one. He does give us a lot. He buffs us a lot, which is really something we need to close games. So that's what keeps him in the list. But he's just, for 5 mana, I don't know. I often feel like I feel like I could get a little bit more value out of something else. But I like him right now. He's going to stay. This bad boy, this soul hoarding demon, just lets us draw cards. You draw so many. Whenever a permanent owned by another player is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you draw a card and lose a life. Definitely has a downside of it not being a May ability, but, just that's so much card draw. How can we resist? And it's a flying 6/6. Like, they're going to have to deal with it eventually. Bladewing Deathless Tyrant. This card is wacky, man. It's a 6/6 for 7, flying haste. And then when it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, for each creature in your graveyard, make a 2/2 zombie knight with menace. So it can just instantly come down, has haste on its own, hit someone for a ton, and then make an instant zombie army. So, because we are just, we're milling a lot with Dihada. Really, really good. Karvak the Merciless. This card is just super fun to play, and you can reanimate it pretty easy. So whenever an opponent casts a spell, you just ding them. Deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target. So your opponents are going to play spells, and then you just start sniping out threats, hitting people. It's really, really good. Or if you really want to instill chaos, you just tell them, as long as it doesn't come at my board or my things, you can pick the targets. And then that just causes so much unrest at the table that it's just super, super fun. Gisela. It's Gisela. It's a super high-costed angel that is just an instant kill on sight kind of thing, right? If a source would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, deal double that damage to that permanent or player. And then if something were to hit you, you prevent half that damage rounded up. So just such a good card, can swing things in a crazy favor for you. Elish Norn. It's mom, right? Like it's the mom, and she can buff your board and destroy opponents' boards. So I really like it. It shuts down. It can just kill a bunch of tokens. It buffs the crap out of your stuff. It's just such a really nice card to have in your list, because it's just like, oh, at least I always know. If you have a few creatures and you get Elish Norn out, boom, you can shut down tokens, shut down other things. Avacyn, Angel of Hope. I think with the reprint that came out with the Innistrad Remastered, she's dropped, but she's so strong as a reanimation target. Just give all your permanents indestructible. She's a flying vigilance indestructible, flying angel baddie. And then Piru, the volatile. You don't get to see this guy much. He costs a metric ton, but he is a flying lifelinker, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you sacrifice it unless you pay a red, a white, and a black. But it also can just deal 7 damage to all non-legendary creatures, right? If you just don't pay that. You get it out there, and then you need to wrath the board. You still have a 7/7 lifelinker, so you still have this giant body that is just a threat that if it dies, it's not, it just, whenever it dies, it just deals 7 to every non-legendary creature. Let's get into the lands, right? So we are running legendary lands. Running Mount Doom, because it's a legendary land. Running Corehaven has a lot of upside. It's also legendary. The Grey Havens. Also running this one. I think it has some interesting things. It has some recursion, right? And then it also exiles all graveyards, so that can be a little bit hit and miss. Early game, it can be nice, or late game, you can get one big thing you really need. I don't know. Minds of Moria, love this card. It protects your graveyard from other people reanimating it, and then it also can that's the big reason, and it can also just make treasures, so it can turn some of the other stuff you mill into treasure. Ministirith. You're attacking a lot. Why not draw cards for it? Shizo, Death Storehouse. Give stuff fear, Let it get in. And then Takenuma. It's just good reanimation on a land, and they're just legendary. So it's a lot of the legendary lands that we're running. If I had Naganjo, I'd probably run those. I don't know if I'd run the old one. I'd definitely run the new one. But legendary lands are one of the reasons this deck seems pretty fun. It can help you hit land drops. I'm not running as many as I would like, but, I'm doing what I do. Running Fellmire. I think this one's pretty nice. It's the bolt land that can kill something. You can destroy a creature, or you can pay 3 and just have your black source when you need it. Same thing here. Fabled Passage, just let's fetch some land. And then here's our fetches that we were running, right? We're going to run Arid Mesa, Bloodstained Mire, Marsh Flats. I have gotten to use those with the Vampire Boy a good amount of times, and it feels awesome. to just pay the life, do it again. Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, and Nomad's Outpost. Those are just our tricolor lands that we're choosing to run. And they're running a lot of duels, right? So we're running Foreboding Ruins, Sulphur Springs, Dragonskull Summit, Luxury Suite, Black Cleave Cliffs, the new Verge. Love the art on it, so I was happy to see that. And then Smoldering Marsh. I also got this one, the Beachbone Verge. That one's pretty cool. I'm going to run some Tainted Field, Godless Shrine, Concealed Courtyard. We have a lot of access to black, so really red and white is what I was focusing on. Like Furycom Snarl, Clifftop Retreat, Spectator Seating, Sacred Foundry, Battlefield Forge. And then our basics. I went with these. I don't know why. I just felt like the Murders lands fit what I kind of wanted to do with the appearance. So that's why we chose that. Just I thought they looked nice. Anyway, that will be Dihada, Binder of Wills. This deck and all the recursion and stuff like that, I found it to be just very annoying to deal with, very resilient. Your key piece is really hard to kill. You can get them back pretty easily. A lot of your giant top-end threats are pretty volatile, you know, like an Avacyn or a Gisela. Like, those can just swing games so quickly in different directions that you can just really go off in a lot of different ways. And Dihada is such a crazy enabler for those. You can just ramp out to high-end stuff very quickly. You know, if you forsake Dihada and you don't even, you know, you don't put anything into protecting her, you could have, what, 8 mana? Or no, you could have 9 mana on turn 5, right? Because you could just turn 4 Dihada, pitch all 4 cards, next turn play your land, have 9 mana. You could just drop Avacyn on turn 5. It'd be wild. Or you could just set everyone back to the Stone Age and just pop Ruinous Ultimatum. There's so much stuff you can do that I just have a blast playing Dihada. It's a really fun list to just swap things out, check stuff out. Just really fun Legends play that isn't like a Joda deck. So if you like this, drop a like, comment down below. The deck list will be on Moxfield in the description. And I hope you really enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!